Okay, welcome back to members of 121 Community Church in Grapevine, Texas, and our brand new study in The Idea of the Holy by Rudolf Otto, published by Oxford University Press way back in 1923. We're going to take a look at the first 5 chapters. It'll pretty much be an introduction to the book. It'll be pages 1 to 31. And we'll take a look at the concept of deity and the concept of the numen, or the numinous, which Otto will posit. But it'll give us our first initial introduction into the manuscript. Let's begin with block 1. Let's take a look at the attributes of deity. And Otto tells us there are 7 attributes for God. They are spirit, reason, purpose, goodwill, supreme power, unity, and selfhood. They're all analogous with human nature, but God's attributes are absolute and unqualified. And they are represented in concepts, and they can be grasped by the human intellect. Next, under analysis of thought, a rational attribute is that which can be thought of conceptually. Therefore, God has a rational nature, and Christianity is a rational religion. Therefore, belief is always contrasted with feeling. And he says that under concept, that gives Christianity a superior value. It professes a knowledge by faith, and it looks at transcendence as concept. And Christianity does exist as a sign against other religions. However, here's where he qualifies everything. Rational attributes do not exhaust the idea of deity. That's his key point here in block 1. Rational attributes do not exhaust the idea of deity. And so under note 4, deity is a supra-rational subject. The rational attributes are the synthetic essential attributes, but we require a deeper comprehension to go on from here. We get into mysticism, and he says that this deeper comprehension is referred to as the Ereton or Areton, which combines ereo and reo. It means to bring forth the word. But Otto tells us that basically we're talking about that which is beyond reason. We're talking about the miraculous in note 5. We must ask, what is the role of the non-rational aspects of deity? Because there has always been a bias toward rationalization in Christianity. We have to address the category of the holy, which is a miraculous category. And for Otto, he's going to call this the numen, or the numinous. If we go to block 2, this category of the holy, he's going to give it his own name in block 2. We begin with the ineffable. The holy equals the ereton, or the ineffable, or that which is too great to be described. Or we could say it is that of deity which is beyond concept. Moral significance is always included in the concept of the holy, but it does not exhaust the meaning of the holy. This ineffable can also be a surplus of meaning, and that it also is the very core of religion. It is the core of Christianity. This ineffable aspect of deity that is beyond the rational. So note block 2, note 2. The Greek concept for holy is hagios, but we will posit the notion of numen, says Otto, from the Latin for the surplus of meaning, and the additional notion of numinous. because there is a numinous state of mind that corresponds with the objective numen. There is a numinous state of mind that corresponds with the objective numen. So if you look at note 3, the numinous state of mind, it is the generative and primary state of mind as a force of consciousness. It is that awakening of the mind where we are raptured into a state of worship. So under note 4, raptured in worship, we begin with a feeling of dependence, or the experience of being the overwhelmed creature, and we are objectively referring to the numen, which is that which is beyond concept. So our primary reference is outside the self. It is the objective numen. The numinous creates a determinate, affective state of mind. According to Paul, he called this the mysterion. It does create a mood of worship, says Otto. So under block 2, note 6, this mood of worship, we begin with the feeling of fear, or the peculiar dread. But it is actually sebastos, which means worthy of reverence. So it's fear, but it's really, wisdom. The fear of God is the beginning of wisdom, really means reverence, worthy of reverence. Luther said that the natural man cannot properly fear God. It's only after we are born again by the Spirit that we can actually properly have a reverence toward God. We are awakened to a mental predisposition, and it does inaugurate a new function of valuation within the self. So under note 7, block 2, note 7, this new function of valuation, the soul is held speechless and trembles. It is the state of being in a mystical awe, and it is reflected in the self-consciousness. But it is this state of being grasped by that which is beyond concept, beyond comprehension. It creates a mood of worship. Its objective presence is the numen, that evidence of transcendence and objectivity. Subjectively, it is the numinous state of mind, the numinous state of mind. So he concludes, let's go to block 3, with the numen as the holy other in block 3. He says that this holy otherness of deity is majesty. It is absolute unapproachability, creates a feeling of numinous humility. It's the unfolding of the status of the creature. We become aware of the transcendent as the real. We become aware of the transcendent as the real. So block 3, note 2, transcendence as reality. It causes us to reject the delusion of our sensate selfhood. We perceive the numen as containing the plenitude of being. And then we fall back onto ontological terms in an attempt to name this reality. Mysticism is the stressing of the supernatural element of religion. But one way we can approach it is by looking at it as an element of energy, says Otto, as an element of energy. It's the energy of the deity. So block 3, note 3, the numen includes the fear or the reverence, it includes majesty, and it includes energy. It is perceived in the wrath of God, always expressed symbolically. It is our being confronted by the living God, by a consuming fire of love. And then, note 4, mysterion, Paul's concept for this reality was the mysterion, the mystery of the divine, is a synthetic attribute. It's a state of blank wonder or amazement where we reference the holy other of the divine. So he concludes by calling the numen the holy other. Block 3, note 5. It is theteron. It is beyond the realm of the usual. It fills the mind with blank wonder. It awakens our interest and our curiosity. It awakens the interest of the mind. It is expressed as the beyond the rational, beyond concept. It is the epikeina, beyond. It is beyond concept. It is a surplus of meaning that it draws us into a state of worship, a state of awe, and a recognition of the holy other of the divine. The true aspect of being recognized as a finite creature who must simply fall into humility before the holy otherness of God. This aspect of deity that is the transcendence that we recognize as being the real world, the real life, the true real life. True reality is transcendence. It's this aspect of the divine, this aspect of the holy. That transcendence is the real. And we are in awe when confronted by that reality. We are humbled when we are confronted by that reality. And Rudolf Otto tells us that we will use the Latin, we'll call it the numen, objectively, but subjectively we will call it the numinous state of mind. There's a numinous state of mind that corresponds with the objective numen in external reality. And it is the real. It is the real that lies behind sensate experience. It is the real. It's the transcendent real. And it is beyond concept. We can approximate it through our concepts. We can approximate it through our semyon signs. But it escapes absolute definition. It is always beyond us. It's beyond concept. It is a surplus of meaning, a surplus that we just can't really contain in a conceptual designation. And that's really what Rudolf Otto is telling us here, is that Christianity has had a tendency in the past to be overly rational, overly systematic, and it has omitted this supra-rational element of deity, and that supra-rational element of deity is the numen. It is the numen that we grasp in that mood of worship, that mood of humble worship, that mood of contrition and blank wonder and amazement and interest and curiosity. All of that comes together. It all comes together as what he calls stupor, or blank wonder, or amazement, or that falling in humility before the holy otherness of God's deity. It is the epikeina, and the epikeina simply translates out of the Greek as the beyond human grasp, the beyond human concept. To put it down in conceptual form is to really try and attempt to apply a limit to that which cannot be contained, a surplus that cannot be contained. So the introduction to the book is basically telling us that we are going to be addressing, within the realm of religion, we're going to be addressing not the overly rational side of Christianity, but we're going to look at the supra-rational side of Christianity. We're going to look at the transcendence that lies behind sensate existence. We're going to be looking at the numen, and subjectively we are going to evaluate the numinous state of mind. So it gives us a very powerful introduction and lets us know that we are going to step outside the comfort zone of overly rationalized Christianity, and we're going to enter into the realm of the mystical, or what the Apostle Paul called the mysterion, and we're going to enter into a evaluation and discussion and explication of the mysterion, which is at the very core of Christian religion. That'll wrap up a very powerful introduction. That was chapters 1 through 5, and just 30 pages, page 1 to 31. But that will conclude our introduction. We will pick up next time in chapter 6.